welcome in Week 4 WATD Fantasy Draft. Quinn Kelly, Johnny Rourke, Brendan Connolly, we are back at it. And I feel like this always happens, but it's kind of crazy that this would be under a normal season, the week in which we hit the midway point of the regular season. We've already got 3 weeks under our belt. It's still going to be a month in, and we're starting to kind of see who's going to be real contenders, who might make some noise in the playoffs, and who's got a long road ahead of them the rest of this fall. And we're also starting to see who are going to be kind of the guys that we can start picking on here in the coming weeks of the regular season before we kind of reset the draft board heading into the playoffs. But more and more names kind of be adding to the list as we're seeing more and more guys kind of step up. So let's get right into it. Couple of big performances last week. I think everybody had a fairly good one somewhere on their board. Let me jump back. Trevor Jones for you, Brendan, at 100-yard rushing performance. He was he had a great day. I had Patrick Collins at quarterback with 4 total touchdowns, 2 in the air, 2 on the ground, plus a big game, 126 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns for Marquise Rodriguez-Smith, and then Johnny picking well on Mason Nash. A lot of Abington running backs to decide between, and you got the right one on the right week with a 3-touchdown game on our Thursday Night Lights on WATD Plus. We've got a big weekend of football coming up as well. We'll talk about that towards the end of the draft. But for now, let's get right into it. Order goes back to, we've cycled through Johnny, then Brendan, then me. That'll be the order today. So Johnny, you are on the board.
A lot of buys this week, so I'm gonna get a guy in a position that I think is a little light. I'm gonna go to the Catholic Conference. I'm gonna go Brendan Ryan, running back from BC High. They got Everett this week. They're coming off a bye, so I think they've been able to prep well. Everett's coming off of an absolute drubbing at the hands of Severian, and also you look at Severian was able to run all over them. So I think BC High is going to try to follow that script and do the same. Probably not going to have a similar stat line as the 300 yards, 6 TDs. So, but I'm going to go Brendan Ryan.
Yeah, hat tip to Vinny Busa for a real solid game there. But yeah, I mean, Everett's just not right now what they have historically been, and hard to imagine that in 1 week's time going up against a team that had a bye, that was probably there watching the game this past weekend. Hard to imagine they're going to get things sorted out well enough in the ground defense that they're able to stop BC High. So good pick. All right, Brendan, your pick.
Well, I was also looking at that name, Johnny, so I can cross that one off. But I am looking at that matchup still. I'm just going to go with quarterback here because I feel like this is going to be a closer game than the one we saw last week. I still think BC High throws the ball early and then starts running a little later. Maybe they get a 2-touchdown lead and they're able to just kill the clock from there. But I think they're going to rely on Carter early in this game.
All right, Carter Carroll off the board for the second time. And to a pair of Eagles right off the top. Again, you wouldn't necessarily look at it and think, hey, that's the matchup you want to pick out with Everett. But the name recognition does not quite equate anymore to the actuality that is the Everett Crimson Tide. So there you go, Carter Carroll off the board. I'm going to go to the running back room, and I think that these are one of the good weekends where we have a game featuring a South Shore team, but playing against an opponent that is not on the South Shore. I don't like to pick from matchups and games we cover because I'm doing the game. That feels like a conflict of interest. But we've got Quincy taking on Westwood. I have no allegiance to Westwood. I'm going with Jonas Allah, sophomore running back for Quincy. Kind of burst on the scene as a freshman last year. I expect big things for him in this Saturday game. It's going to be on WATD. I'm expecting him showing out. So, yeah, give me Jonas Allah for the first time. All right. And that will put you on the board, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm going to go I think I'm just going to round out my running back room right away. I'm going to go to Archie's. I'm going to go to Tyler Gardner-Harris. They're another team that's coming off a bye. They're playing on the road. They're playing at Bishop Feehan. But I think that's a pretty good matchup for them, and I think they look to establish the run, and they go with Tyler.
I was talking actually to the offensive coordinator for Archie's this past week because we know that our good friend Sully Cody has headed over to Archie's. He's working in their athletic department now, guy that we've gotten to know through his days at Hanover, and they were at the game on Friday night at Duxbury, and was just getting a little insight on Archie's first year there with Landolfi at the helm. Both Landolfi brothers kind of working it. They're kind of looking, I think, for that breakthrough week, like when they're going to kind of see some progress this year. I think they're, maybe not quite. They're probably like a year away, but I think this is a big week for them to try to get something going here, make a push towards the end, the back half of the regular season. And so I like to pick Tyler Gardner-Harris, TGH. Archie's off the board. Brendan.
Another matchup involving a Braintree-based team. I'm going to go with Braintree High School going up against Framingham. And usually we would say James Curry here, but he's already been taken off the board early in the season. So right now I'm going to try and change up my usual tempo in this approach here. I'm going to go with a receiver. I'm going to go with Jared Coughlin. I think they're going to Braintree is a favorite in this game. And I feel like they can attack in multiple ways against the Bay State Conference foe.
Yeah, this is a game that I think I had eyes on as well. We were kind of on this one last week with Milton going against them. It was true. Framingham just they are what they are, and I think that's the thing about Braintree. It's going to make them dangerous. Obviously, they didn't start the season quite on the foot that they wanted to, but they've got a great passing attack in addition to the rushing attack with James Curry. So they're going to move the ball through the air too. So I think you're going to see you're going to see a big game for Jared Coughlin. All right, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to round out my running back room as well, I think. So we're really going to leave the floor open to you there, Brendan. But I'm going to go with Mekhi White from Randolph. They got Brighton this week. I think that's an opponent that Randolph has handled in the past, can handle again this year. I already had Nate Gomes-Correa on my board once this year, and he had a fantastic week. They are the typical Thunder and Lightning combo. I love what Mekhi brings to that offense, and I'm excited to see if he can get something done. It feels like one doesn't check into the scorebook without the other. They split carries well. It's a really good two-back system. They provide very different things for the offense. So I think Mekhi is poised to have a pretty big game. I think that offense on a whole is going to have a really big game. So I like Mekhi here. All right, round 3, Johnny.
Let's see here. I kind of have a quarterback in mind, but I'm going to go wide receiver. I'm actually going to go to another team that's coming off a bye. I guess I'll just keep going. I'm going to go with Brady Roach out of Middleborough. BR's coming off of actually a pretty good performance against Marshfield. I think a performance that's a couple people. So, I think they're going to be a talented team. I think it's going to be a tough matchup, but I think it's going to be a good game, and I think Brady's going to do well.
Yeah, I think it was a surprising performance for BR. I think that they showed a little gumption, and we probably should expect that. Ian Bain's a great coach. I think he's going to do some good things there, but that's a performance they can build on. Now, that said, Middleborough has played well against them in recent years, and yeah, so I think perfect time to get after Brady Roach. All right, Brendan.
Another good matchup here, I think. Really not sure how it's going to shake out right now, but I would still lean Cohasset in this one, going up against Nauset, one of their final non-conference games. And I'm going to go with Will McLaughlin for my second receiver. Or did I have that name right? Yeah, Will McLaughlin.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he was solid last week, and he's good. I mean, they got a good wide receiver core over there, and we know they like to throw the ball. I mean, they're throw the ball against just about anybody. They could go up against the 2013 Seattle Seahawks, and they're still going to throw the ball about 35 times. So I think he's going to get plenty of targets. They're probably going to get a pretty competitive game, I think, from Nauset. They've been fairly good. So if this one turns into a shootout, I think that could be a big pick for you, Brendan. All right, I'm going to take my quarterback off the board. Excuse me. I'm going to go with a matchup that I think should bear fruit for the more Central South Shore. I've got Hingham going up against Stoughton this week. Give me Jake Farhalik. He put up damn near 300 yards against Hanover a week ago, and that's a good Hanover defense. Now, I think Stoughton is better than we've seen in recent years, but still should be a matchup that Hingham can kind of take advantage of. I think Hingham has taken a step forward this year. I think they're flying pretty under the radar. I still don't think that they're necessarily Marshfield Duxbury level right now in the Patriot League, but I think that offense is really good. I'm excited to get our first look at them in a couple of weeks. And I think Jake Farhalik can do some big things for them. So I'm going to go with him for my quarterback this week. Round 4, Johnny.
I'm going to go wide receiver again. I feel like this is kind of a good pick because they use him as a running back as well. But I'm going to go Tyler Munchback from Weymouth. Saw him in person at Newton North. I was impressed with the way he's able to create space, and when he has the ball in his hands, he's able to make some guys miss, and does a good job of keeping the legs moving. So I think that's a favorable matchup for Weymouth, New Bedford. I mean, we talked about it on Sunday. I think they're one of those teams that I've been impressed with, sitting at 3-0, and I don't really see a reason they shouldn't be 4-0 coming out of this game. So I'm going to go with Tyler.
Yeah, I was my next lane on the board. I think he's the right pick this week. I think that's certainly the right matchup to hit on. And yeah, I know you've seen him, so I like the pick a lot, Johnny. All right, Brendan, you're 4th off the board.
I'm going to go to the running back pool here, and I'm going to go to the Hingham-Stoneham matchup. I know Hingham tends to usually deploy multiple running backs, 2 usually, but I'm going to go with Chase Bailey this week. I feel like it's a very important game for the Harbormen if they really want to have a good showing this season, good chance before they enter the tough Patriot League.
Yeah, and another guy. So that's back to back. I think we've kind of identified the matchups. That's somebody that was on my board too. He's an electric player. He kind of came on late last year. Obviously, Will St. Pierre was the big feature back for them last year, but Chase has been good so far in the season. I think he can have a big week. I think that whole offense can have a pretty big week this week. So good pick, Brendan. All right, I got to get into my wide receiver room. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back to a team that after a pretty I won't call it embarrassing, but certainly a frustrating week 1 performance has bounced back in a nice way. I'm going to go to Milton. They've got a matchup against Holliston. It's not Todd Kiley's Holliston. It's not quite the same thing. It's an important game for them, given that they've got a road game at Weymouth next week. Got to go out and take care of business here in this non-conference matchup. I'm going to go with Harrison Hinkle. I think Ronan Salmon is the number 1 target, obviously, there over in Milton, but I think Harry Hinkle is right there too. He's a big part of what they do offensively. Obviously, a guy who had his Super Bowl moments just like Ronan, but I think that it's going to take 2 to tango this week. I think he gets some touches, and yeah, I like the matchup for Milton. All right, Johnny.
So I need my quarterback. I'm going to go to a team that has looked good. And I say that with a big asterisk because I hate the New Jerseys. I'm going to go with Will Wood from Severian. We need to talk to someone over there about the new pants. They're just it's highlighter yellow like the sheet I'm looking at right now. It's an atrocity. But the team has looked good, and I think Will's looked good as well. Obviously, they've run the ball a lot, and I think when they go out to Central, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a battle. I think they're going to look to establish the run as well. But Will's going to have to make some plays. We saw him in that one game that he stepped in for Hasselbeck last year. He's a really talented kid, and I think this is a week that he's able to step up and go win a tough road game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. I'm pretty sure he's an M2 QB Academy guy. So shout out to them. They seem to have cornered the market on kids out of this area. Uh, I think they're going to need him to throw. It's not going to come as easily this week on the ground as it did last against Everett. And those jerseys are an absolute abomination. I know that they're not the only ones who have got New Balance jerseys this year. It seems like New Balance is kind of making a play. I don't know if this is them like testing things out in the high school level so that they can step up and actually have a jersey to give to their one collegiate team. I know Boston College, New Balance school that wears Adidas football jerseys. This is New Balance's test run. And I'm sorry, it's back to the drawing board. Those things are hideous. And, if we can throw out a little Christianity at you for the Catholic school, every day we stray further and further from God's light. The jerseys for Severian get worse and worse by the year. They're absolutely awful. They're absolutely awful.
The helmet.
They were all excited. Say again?
They still got the good helmet, but
I know, and I'm not even a huge helmet guy, but they move to jerseys that look worse and worse in combination with the helmet. So I don't know. They gotta right the ship over there. But Will Wood looks good just about anything he plays in. So good pick, Johnny. All right, Brennan.
Well, this matchup is a very unique one because it's a team that we haven't seen too much of. The last time I saw Boston English play, it was a shootout, and I feel like that is the script for a lot of their box scores. So if it follows suit, I could see Hull going back and forth with them, and I'm going to go with John Truglia this week. Bound to find the end zone probably once or twice.
Yeah, very much in alignment there, Brennan. That was another guy that was on my board for the same reason. I think that's a matchup that's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think Hull has not quite made that step back forward the way we maybe were hoping they were going to this year, but this is an important game for them, and I think they're going to put some points on the board. I had John Truglia as somebody that I might consider this week, so I had 4 running backs on the list. I took 2 of the guys that were on my list, and you got the other 2, so I like where we're at with that. All right, I'm going to jump to my defense. I'm going to take the first defense. I don't want to wait to have last ups at this just because there's not a ton of games this week. And, I want to go after somebody that I think can put together a good performance defensively. And I think that there's a clear number one of our teams this week. So I'm going to go with Weymouth. I think Weymouth, New Bedford, that's a match. I mean, Weymouth has been dominant really so far on both sides of the ball. They're going up against an opponent they should be able to handle. I like Weymouth. Weymouth D. All right, Johnny, your defense.
Well, I picked the defense that was opposing this team last week, and they made me pay for it. So I'll return the favor. I'm going to go with Braintree's defense. I think it's a good matchup for them against Framingham. As I said, they kind of made me pay offensively when I went with North Quincy there, but hopefully they can reward me for this pick and put in a good defensive performance, which I think they can. I think it's a good matchup for them.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is a pretty good matchup. And I think, I think that they're going to be able to kind of handle their business this week. And there's no getting around it. They made you pay, so you gotta go to them. All right, Brennan, your defense.
Well, the 2 teams that I had on my board are now gone, so I'm going to look to the Patriot League here. I'm going to go with Plymouth North. I think this game, it's because of the script, not because of the talent on the field. I could see this being like a 17-14 game, something to that effect between Plymouth North and Pembroke, just given how they run the ball so much.
Yeah, that's one that I would have considered. So that one's going to be our Thursday night lights. The lights will not technically be on because of Triple E, but we'll be over there 3:30 start time on Thursday. I think that this is going to be a lower scoring affair. I think the 2 defenses will play well in this one. So, I think Plymouth North is a good pick there for you, Brian. All right. That will bring us to the final pick of the draft. And I need one more receiver. In a little bit of debate here, I want to go with, you already tapped into Cohasset. I had somebody from Cohasset on my board. I want to bring Marshfield into the fold. Give me Brady Crowley. I think they're going to spread it around this week. I think Brady is a big X factor for them, can do a lot of things at the tight end position, and just kind of gives them a little more versatility. He's not a high volume guy, but I'm hoping he finds the end zone this week in Mansfield. So give me Brady Crowley. That's our South Shore game of the week. So we got a little representation from all of our games, and excited for that. Makes stack keeping easy, and that is the draft. So let's run them through. Johnny, quarterback, Will Wood from Severian, running backs Brendan Ryan out of BC High and Tyler Gardner-Harris out of Archie's. An awful Catholic week for you, Johnny, at the top of the board. And then wide receivers, Middleborough is Brady Roach, and Weymouth's Tyler Munchback, and Braintree defense. Brendan Carter Carroll, your quarterback out of BC High. Running backs, Chase Bailey out of Hingham, and John Trulia out of Hull. Wide receivers, Will McLaughlin out of Cohasset, and Jared Coughlin out of Braintree, and the Plymouth North defense. And then for me, Jake Varhala, Hingham quarterback. Running backs, Jonas Allah out of Quincy, and Mackay White out of Randolph. Wide receivers, Harrison Hingle out of Milton, and Brady Crowley, a tight end out of Marshfield with the Weymouth defense. All right, that wraps it for us on the Week 4 WATD Fantasy Draft. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. You can find these each and every week. We'll bring you more content throughout the season. And don't forget, we've got a full slate of games this weekend. It starts special 3:30 start time, Plymouth North versus Pembroke. You can catch that on WATD Plus, and then we'll follow it up with a couple of fun ones. 7 p.m. Friday night, Marshfield at Mansfield will be down on 140 for that one. And then Saturday, 4 p.m. start time, Quincy hosting Westwood at Veterans Memorial Field. So tune in for all of it. Find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. Vote to let us know who you think had the biggest draft or best draft this week, who you think is going to win. And don't forget to follow. And we will see you next time. For Brennan and Johnny, I'm Quinn, and this is the WATD Fantasy Draft.